So tell us a little bit more about this new Eevee concept that's up on stage. When's that coming to market, or is it even coming to market?
Well, I think what the great things about the motor shows, the global motor shows, and here in Tokyo, is that it allows us as manufacturers to really showcase our thinking, what our concepts are, to get the affirmation of those vehicles. But as you know, anybody can make a concept car and put it on the stand and say, this is our dream. But what we've got here is we've got something that builds upon our history, our heritage, our reputation, 4x4 capability, extreme driving performance, great looking car with the advanced dynamic shield on the front. So this gives an indication of our direction. So what we're looking for is people like you, journalists and the general public, to give us affirmation that that direction is okay.
Sure. Concept cars at auto shows are meant for the cameras and to get into the front page of the newspapers, not necessarily to market. But when are you going to bring a pure EV to market, and where?
Well, what we've just done is we've announced our midterm plan, our drive for growth. And we're focusing on rebuilding the foundations of our company and making sure the company is future-proof going forward. Our first pure electric vehicle will be launched in Japan. It will be a K-car EV, and it'll come around about 2020. We've indicated that we'll have another 10 vehicles on top of that with electrification options beyond that, going from 2020 onwards.
Now, can you tell me, where are you on the path towards recovery? You have an ambitious turnaround goal after the scandal of last year of boosting unit sales and revenue by 30% by 2020. How far along, now that you're 1 year into the job as Chief Operating Officer?
Well, I think, again, I like to speak with facts, and I like to make sure that our plan is very, very robust and has credibility. So, very ambitious plans, as you said, but if you look at where we are today, without the launch of a new vehicle, we've grown 12% year on year. We've grown over 200% in China, admittedly from a low base, but we are demonstrating that we're on the path for growth and sustainability.
Now, in a recent interview, you called your performance in the United States and in China, the two largest automobile markets in the world, as pitiful.
Yes.
When does pitiful go to acceptable to unbelievable?
Well,
or first, can you get there?
Well, it's a step-by-step approach. And of course, I think, the good thing about coming from a low base, it means you've got those opportunities. When we look at our performance, as I've said, in China, over 200% growth year over year so far. In the US is a tough market, as we know, but I think looking at our performance, looking at our brand, looking at the relationships we have with our dealer network, we have opportunities. I'm going over there in November to speak to the whole of our dealer community to try and understand what common ground we have, what we need to do to make sure we're engaged, and what we need to do to grow. 30% of our dealers in the US are selling less than 10 units per month. Big opportunity.
Now, hanging over this auto show, this motor show, obviously is the scandal at Nissan. A year ago, you were the Chief Performance Officer at Nissan, so you've come over. I won't ask you to comment directly on what's happening at Nissan, but how do you take the lessons that you can learn from that and bring it to Mitsubishi?
Yeah, as you said, I'm not really going to comment on Nissan, but anything that happens in your industry, the first thing you do is you look inwards. Okay, so, regardless of who it is. So, of course, we've looked inwards. We've done a complete audit of our processes. We've given the information to the MLIT in Japan, and we're okay in terms of what we're doing. But as always, you look inwards.
What does it do to the confidence in the Japanese automobile industry as a whole when you have first Takata and the exploding airbags, you have Kobe Steel, which had some, automobile aluminum questions and those inspections, and now you have Nissan. You had a scandal as well at Mitsubishi a year ago. What does that do to the confidence in the automobile industry?
Well, I think whatever we've got to do as a manufacturer, we've got to look at our own brand, and we've got to make sure that we are building or rebuilding trust. And that is the priority of our midterm plan in terms of drive for growth. We're starting to rebuild trust. And you can only do that step by step. You've got to be very conscientious about it, you've got to be very diligent, and you've got to be very customer focused, and that's what we're doing here at Mitsubishi.
What have you done internally to change the operations at Mitsubishi following the fuel economy scandal a year ago?
We've done many things. It started obviously before even IRI, but there was a very root and branch study done. We've changed our internal governance. We've had a performance revolution activity led by the head of our engineering, which is followed diligently. We've reported this to the government bodies in Japan, and we report regularly our process. And step by step, we're closing them off. Governance, transparency, cross-functionality is something that we're driving internally.
All right, and as you drive more into EV vehicles, how will these vehicles come out on the same platforms as your alliance partners, Nissan and Renault?
Yes, obviously, this is one of the main advantages of being part of an alliance. That we can work together, we can contribute in the development of platforms which will be suitable for the alliance brands. And certainly for a brand the size of Mitsubishi Motors, starting from a 1 million unit base, that's a big, big advantage for us.
Now, where would these EVs, the ones you're going to be rolling out, where would they be produced? Sticking in Japan or China?
It depends on the vehicle, and it depends on the market. You know, as you know, China is moving very, very big into electrification. The rest of the world is also doing that.
Is that the holy grail, China, for EVs?
Well, I think it's where the mass of the vehicles are being sold. And as you know, there's a big spectrum of EVs in China. What's important is that we do the right EVs right for our markets, and we'll satisfy our customers in that way.